Take him that long to get it set up.
Yeah, hang on. Like a Yeti. All right, you're live.
Good morning. Going to call this meeting to order. And Commissioner Lacey, would you lead us in prayer?
Our gracious Father, we come this morning, first of all, say thank you. Thank you again for allowing us another day. Thank you again for this great state, this United States, this county that we work in. We pray, to God, that whatever we do here on this commission, that we do it in a fashion that you'll be pleased. We're praying for this particular county, that we all come together, that we all work together, that what we do is pleasing in your eyesight. Bless this commission. Bless each and every one of us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
All right, we have the pledge. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We welcome everyone here this morning from the parties, and we're going to start with that now so that y'all won't have to be here the whole time of the meeting. And you have been furnished copies of the contract proposed, and I'll turn it over to Spence.
Sure. Is it on? Thank y'all for being here. It works out better with y'all here. That way we can kind of talk together and work things out and get ready for a good election. You know, it's once every 4 years we have the big one where we elect everybody from governor on down to constable. So I want to have a good experience for the voters. And I thought last time we worked together well, and want to help y'all with your primaries. So what we tried to do over the years is, you know, the statute allows for us to have an agreement to help y'all. And so over the years, we've tweaked it some as we see, you know, how it really works election night or election eve. And so this agreement is one that we've kind of worked on together, I guess, over the last 10 or 12 years, and we've tweaked it each time. It's pretty close to what we had last time. You know, we've added a few details. But y'all's input, you know, was in here from, I remember we met, I think, over in the grand jury room last time, and that was a good meeting. So we incorporated a lot of that and then tweaked it this time. I talked to y'all. We sent this out to you ahead of time. And so I think, you know, to summarize it, the election commission can agree to help, and I think they're going to do more than they ever have in terms of maybe a little over 90% of it. And just to quickly go through it, certainly training the poll workers is something they're equipped to do and like to do and all that. It's helpful for y'all to have a representative, you know, at every poll worker training. And I think, you know, it's kind of good just to have somebody there anyway. I think you would probably want to do that, check folks in. And then the election commission trains them, and we're refining what we're doing too. I think we've kind of learned where, you know, when you have you know, 60 people in one room and you're going over every task, that's not really good. And so we're trying to limit the size of the meetings and then kind of figure out a little more ahead of time what your role is going to be election day, and then train you for that role so you're not having to listen to all this other stuff. It's just too much information. So if you know you're going to be in charge of affidavit ballots or something, you're really going to be trained on that. So we're going to try to really do more specialized poll worker training. Let's see, y'all, you know, still appoint your resolution board, and we can kind of come back to that on how that plays out. Supply bags and getting all the 3-ring binders together and everything like that, the election commission will do. Ordering ballots, you know, we'll work with the circuit clerk on getting the right number. It's pretty much set by statute. You have to have a certain amount of ballots. Now, approving ballot styles, and this is really key, and if the circuit clerk were here, she would remind us of this. So the way it works is we're we get in line with 82. We're one of 82 counties, right? And we get our requests into the central system. So they say, "This is okay. Is this the ballot you want? Is everybody's name spelled right? Is everybody included and all that?" And so we have to turn that around and get that back to them. And we don't want to be. We want to be ahead in line. Y'all are pretty good always about turning that around quickly, but it's really important for y'all to do it, because it could be that maybe somebody's name is misspelled, or we've left one of your candidates off, and that's not something we would necessarily know where y'all would. So as you get those emails from the circuit clerk, if y'all continue to turn that around quickly, then we're not last in line. That's important. All right, voting equipment and logistics is number 7, and that has to do with a lot. You know, you have to do the LNA, the logic and accuracy testing for the machines, line up the delivery routes for the voting equipment for election day, and that gets out, and election commission and circuit clerk will handle that. And then where y'all really come into play is election eve and election day and election night, which you'd expect. You know, election eve, the bags are packed and ready to go out to the receiving managers. And then election day, if something comes up at one of your polls and you don't have there's some issue, it's probably going to be technical, and we'll contract with the company ES&S that has a roving tech. And so you say, well, you go out to First Baptist, Madison, or is it First Methodist Madison, and fix that issue. And so you're kind of on call. And then election night, all the fun is all the ballots come in, and your committees will help take the ballots. Y'all are counting the votes and processing it, and getting the keys from the polling location, and getting the poll workers' paperwork to the right person at the county that'll be there, so they get paid and all that. And it's really good. I mean, it's democracy in action. You're interfacing with your poll workers and your voters and that kind of thing. And there's people are excited to see who won, and a lot of the candidates are up there. And then so that's election night too, number 10. And then affidavit ballots. A lot of people vote affidavit, and you have to have special access to the voter database to know whether that person's vote should count, and not everybody has access to that. But the Election Commission does, and they're glad to. It's pretty tedious, but you got to look up every voter in the SIM system and determine, if they're really registered to vote in the county like they said in their affidavit. And of course, the commission's not counting the votes or deciding which of y'all's votes should count. So they're just saying, yes, this person's in the system. They turn them back over to you for y'all to make the final determination. And then, of course, at the end, y'all certify your own election, have a vote to do that, sign the paperwork, and send it in the Secretary of State's office. And then you've done your primary election. So that's kind of, as y'all know, it's really a multi-month process to get to that voting stage, and it's a lot to it, and a lot of details and logistics, and y'all are all volunteers, and I've done the same thing. I've been on the committee, and I do it for Ridgeland now, and it's not, you're dealing with volunteers that are, love their party and country, and you don't want to overburden them. And so I think to that end, I think the commission's willing to do most of it, but y'all count your votes and that kind of thing. So that's my explanation.
One thing I thought of that we had mentioned, and it's more or less just administrative, I guess, is that actually the ballots would be packed by the parties into the green ballot bags, because we would prefer y'all to handle those and not us be the in-between guy with it. And that have to be done before Monday night when they need to be picked up. And I don't know whether we need to even have that as a.
I think that's on here.
All right, I looked for it. Okay, where is it? I was looking for it. I just wanted to draw attention to it then, if it's there.
Approving balance.
I don't see it myself. Do you see it, Helen? And usually that circuit clerk has been good to work with us on that Saturday because a lot of times she's open from 8 to 12 with that last minute.
Absentee vote.
No, well, is it absent?
We have to be open from 8.
Yeah.
8 to 12, right. So anyway, since the courthouse is open, then we've had access to, go in there and work with putting those in. And that makes you not have to come in on Monday and do it in a rush with other activity in the courthouse. But,
I think in paragraph 8, it's kind of vague about the parties deliver voting materials to and through receiving managers.
but I just wanted to make that as specific
Yeah.
as
a
it
good
doesn't have
point.
to be worded in there if everybody's in agreement, but I just wanted everything to be stated. I'm not gonna be packing ballots into the bags. But now I will say that we're trying to develop a system where that with the splits, we'll either be able to furnish you a piece of colored paper that we can rubber brand
Right.
around the cellophane, or something that would just be almost like a red flag telling them, hey, this is one of your splits. Because that was what was somehow looked over when we had the last election. Even though we trained on it and we talked about it and we were headed forward with it, but we're looking at a procedure that would make it just so obvious that that's what you're dealing with.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. We'll have some splits, and there was a school board election, and the poll workers that morning just started pulling the stack of ballots and didn't really remember that there was a split. And so we decided if we help color code it, maybe it might make it easier to say, oh yeah, there's 2 ballots. And that gets back to the specialized training. If we know
Right.
we're gonna go to you, like, you've got a split precinct, so remember that morning you got 2 different ballots. There are a couple other things too I didn't necessarily put in here. I didn't want to make it too long of a contract, but that y'all have usually worked out is like, return receiving managers, who brings what, bags, and that y'all usually kind of work that out. And I didn't know how you wanted to do, resolution boards have kind of evolved to do a lot of work, on absentee ballots the days after the election. And I couldn't remember if, like for a general election, the Democrats and Republicans both have people and they work together on it. If y'all want to do that for this election, or if you want to have your own resolution boards to resolve your absentee ballots. So I just put in there you'd appoint 3 or 5. So you don't have to decide today, but I'm just flagging that to decide what you want a resolution board to do. They get paid more relatively than poll workers. Poll workers work those 14-hour days and get paid X. And over the years, the resolution board, and I've been on it a few times, it's kind of easy. You just come in election night and resolve the ballots that weren't filled out right, and you get paid the same amount as a poll worker, which I always felt a little guilty. But so I think what's evolved is those resolution board folks can work more days and work on absentee ballots, and they're paid for a full day. I guess that's how that's evolved, but however y'all want to do it.
Can we ask some questions to that?
Certainly.
Sure.
Obviously, Madam Chairman, we're formal.
Whatever.
Up to podium, you said.
And Judge, and since we're streaming on the internet, it would help so the folks could
Okay.
hear you.
And this is just for my information, the things that I would ask this time. This is pretty much, as you said, Spence, like the agreement that was used when John Taylor was chairman. When was that? 3 years ago, maybe?
Yeah. Yes.
2018. Okay. So we've done these types of things before. And I'm assuming that a lot of what is in this contract was in the contract that we used at that time too.
Yes.
Right? Okay. If we would be able to have Renee just ask a few questions of the things that in reading the contract, she may have questions for or Todd if he had drafted a contract too, and just any questions that might be come up on that. And then I think we all know where we stand
Certainly.
at that point. Is that okay?
Oh, that's fine.
That's why we're here.
Okay.
First of all, I want to thank our election commissioners because they're going to do a tremendous amount of work that I've usually had to do by myself in the past. So that will be a huge help to me, and I thank you for that. I have several questions that I would just like to have a little more elaboration. I basically know what you're asking. However, I would like a few things clarified. The first thing is the poll worker, getting the poll workers. You were talking about getting referrals or poll workers from me first. And I did that last year. Every one of you had a list, and I was wondering if that list was still relevant because I don't have anything in addition to what I gave you last year.
Yeah, I think that, and, correct me if I'm wrong, but the agreement that we're looking at here basically makes us responsible for doing all of this. But we want your recommendations. I mean, if you want certain people at the polls, they're going to be the first person that's going to get the phone call.
Okay, so that was what I wanted to.
But we have
be clear.
For us to do the job, we have to have the freedom to say.
Absolutely, of course.
But
yeah.
we want your
So
recommendations.
what we've
Questions
done
about
then
that.
is I've pretty much done that previously, and I just want to make sure that that's okay.
So
that
if,
that's acceptable.
if you'd already provided those names to us, I think we would be fine with
Yeah.
you just saying you can use the names
Okay.
previously provided in previous elections.
So that's done. And then when you get your poll workers, I'm assuming Howard and I will be given those names.
Oh, sure.
Is that the way you
Sure.
want to do it? Okay.
That's not in the contract.
And number 4, the supply bags and 3-ring binders. It says that we'll share these items with the Democrat Party. I assume that's what we've been doing previously, correct?
And his says the reverse, that they'd be sharing them with the Republican Party. The contracts are identical except for the party language.
Right. So but I'm just asking, is this as we've done previously?
And as in the past, we will supply you both with a extra supply bag in case there's anything
Oh,
that you run
yeah,
out of.
that day.
We did that for both of you in the last election. We'll do so again.
The other thing that I have so much concern about is number 8, the morning of the election. And that is well, let me go back to our poll workers, because last time during the runoff, I had 3 entire precincts quit the day before the election. I don't see that would ever happen again, but I would like for the 5 of you to discuss, if that should ever happen, a plan of action, because I was really caught with nothing to do. I finally got Miss Goodlow helped me, and then I had another of my committee members that got me someone that morning. So anyway, that was tough, and I really would like for us just to be aware that things like that happen, and I don't have the resources to take care of it.
That's brutal for one precinct, but 3. I didn't know that, so thanks for
Yeah, one
telling us. So
happened at 8 a.m., one at 10
course, right,
a.m.,
when-
and the other
you had a
one
line
was
of-
at 4
line of
p.m.
voters too.
So,
But knowing that's helpful, and I think number 1 will cover you on that second sentence. The commission will, be solely responsible for the poll workers. So if that happens again, we're in charge of getting poll workers there.
Yeah.
Renee, could I speak one
Sure.
comment to that? Part of it is that the poll workers are used to us contacting them for the other elections. And so when you reach out to them, a lot of times they'll pick up the phone and still call and say, the party has contacted me about working. What do you want me to do? And so we put that in there because we felt like it would be easier if we were the ones contacting the people. We want to contact everybody you want, but it just is easier if it comes from us.
Agree.
And so
I
that's
agree.
why we were trying to put the wording that way. And then it's like, well, there was somebody that called me, and I don't know who it was, but they are familiar with who we are because we contact them
Exactly.
routinely.
That's exactly right.
So that was kind of why that, and last time, honestly, I didn't know until it was all over and done with who all the poll workers were after we'd seen people come through training. But I did not know their assignments or things like that, like that they would be at this specific precinct.
Right.
And it helps when you're trying to coordinate, especially on election morning.
Yeah.
If you have a vacancy, you need to know where your people are, that if you could pull one from this one and one from over here to man the one that has nobody, you know.
Correct.
So that's why we felt like we needed to be involved in the process.
Agree, yeah. The other concern I have is the morning of the election. I'm one person, obviously, and I get calls from all 5 districts, panicked calls. I get them from Howard's poll workers as well, because Howard is also on his phone trying to put out fires. It's very, very difficult to handle all of those things at one time. I've gotten 10. I know I see Dan snickering,
Not snickering.
but Dan has one district to take care of. I'm trying to take care of 5.
Oh, that's why we're,
So that morning, we need to have something, some kind of something a little better, because I will get off one call because I've got 3 other people calling me, and that's what. Let me finish,
I just wanted
please.
to-
One of the things, there are 3 things that usually happen. The first that I get a call about, and I think this can be taken care of in training, the first thing is that people don't understand their routers and how to set that up. Sometimes I can do that over the phone, but oftentimes I don't know the layout of how things are, so it's difficult to do that over the phone. Another thing that I'm always asked about is the code to get their machines ready. And I know that they're given those machines, I know they're given those codes, but when you have 5 and 6 people trying to set something up in 1 hour, there's panic, and people get nervous, and they get upset, and they just don't think. So that's an easy thing for us to take care of prior to. The other thing that I'm so concerned about are all these splits. We saw what happened in District 2. If we have something like that happen in District 2 or 1 or 3, several districts at one time, I can't take care of that. I simply can't. So those are things that we need to just be aware and make sure that we have some kind of plan of action. And I know that you're going to be on call, as it says in the contract.
Number 8.
But I really don't know how, if you want me to call you or if you want me to have these people that are having these issues call you. I don't know how you want that to work, but I know I cannot take care of several districts and split issues by myself. It's simply impossible.
I was going to add that you're right. You can't do it. Madison County, if you go, you can't get from Ridgeland to Camden.
Right.
It's too big. And so you flagging those issues is helpful. It helps us to double down on training on the routers and the codes, And the split precinct thing is is tough because it raises issues. You have to be aware there's 2 ballots. So we're really going to train on that, try to do the color coding thing. And then, I think you're chairman of the committee, and it's a committee, and I know that they are good people that want to help. And so I think that sometimes I've seen it where geographically, like whoever you have in Ridgeland's maybe on call, whoever's up in the northern part of the county is on call, and you're kind of the quarterback. And I know last time you did countless hours of work, and I know you've got a good committee, and so I just encourage you to use them.
Well, and that's another thing is I did have people, Todd and Greg actually were 2 of my people that I had on call. However, a lot of times they do not have the information to handle some of those problems. They've not experienced poll working and et cetera, setting up a poll, managing a poll. So a lot of things are really out of their realm of information. Teresa, do you have any idea yet how many splits we're going to have per district?
Not yet.
When will we know that?
Nita's still working on that.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
How is this as a possibility? Obviously, training can help with all 3 of these areas. And
Right.
we've already talked about a couple of them, as we all know. As you know, we do man the office during the primaries. But, your experience and why I was, sort of shock at recognition, it all starts around 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Right.
That's when the calls start in. Maybe we could arrange to make sure that 1 or 2 of us is at the election commission at that hour. So that if you, and you can either direct the calls directly to us, or they can come to you and you can call us, or whatever you think is best, so that you have one spot to call if there's this problem, and hopefully we have somebody to answer the phone and try to help. Could that assist?
Yeah, most definitely, because if I did have backup in some way,
Right,
that would be a tremendous help.
yeah.
They can also call the office, because we get there at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Okay,
Okay.
We're there
okay.
at 6.
So,
They can call us,
so
which
the-
they do a lot of times. They
yeah,
will call us.
well, I know because I've had people tell me that they had to call because my phone was busy.
Also have ESS there also, if they've got a problem with their scanners or whatever.
Yeah.
We send them on out too.
Okay.
Renee,
So,
what do you think about if we handled that with the emergency contact numbers?
yes,
I think if we divided the precincts by, this group is handled by, because there's no way for you to handle
Right.
all 43.
No.
Or Howard, vice versa. I mean, what if we got together and y'all decided how you wanted to divide them? And to me, the most logical way would be by the districts that we've got them in already,
right, agree.
that we are familiar with. And they could contact us about routine little things like, how do I turn that router on?
Yeah.
Because, we're going to be available by phone.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's not something that's logistically needing to be handled, but Mr. Lacy wants to say something.
No, I think the best way to handle that is emergency contact. You list the commissioner right below your name, whatever district you're in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Other words, they call me in District 5, as I always have, and you handle it.
Right.
You call in District 1,
Yeah,
they
that's-
handle it.
Yeah,
They
I
put
think
it
that
up
would
under
be a huge help.
Your Howard's name is emergency contact. And so if we're gonna be there by phone, so therefore, if they got a machine, I don't know how to open my machine today, they forgot, then they're contacting that commission. It'd be so simple than trying to contact all 5 some
Well,
kind of way.
that's my point. I think that's an excellent idea because they only had my number.
Right.
And Howard's number. So if they had my number and then Helen's under District 1, et cetera, I think that would be a huge help. And then I think that would also alleviate some of the panic that we experience when they call us. So I can't go from District 4 to District 1 like happened last year. So if I have some backup,
Well,
and
I
I
can-
do have the committee helping me, and as I said before, they don't have the experience that I have with fixing certain things.
Sure. And I'd be glad to fix that emergency contact list in that fashion. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
Is that what-
perfect.
Don't you think that would help?
I think that would make
But I
a
need
tremendous.
you to go ahead and to give me yours and 4 names, and Howard the same way, of people that I would then call. If somebody calls me about, let's say, Ridgeland First Methodist, I would then turn around and call one of your party people and say, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
But we have resolved it because I had told them how to turn on the little switch, so the router is
Exactly.
now working.
Exactly.
But I think we could just be your relay people, and if there
That-
is still
Yeah.
tell you about it.
Yes, absolutely. And then if it's beyond the expertise of my people, you interject your,
Yeah.
Okay, I need that explained one
Yeah.
more time. So I thought Leroy was saying our name is under that, but you're saying who they select needs to go as the emergency contact, not us.
No, us and then that person.
So,
so it
Next.
would be me, let's just say me, Pat, and then in addition, my people, my committee people.
okay,
So it would be like 1, 2, 3.
oh, just 3 people, not 4.
Well, she's talking about people that I would have in each district.
I see, okay.
Well, I really think it'd be fine if they called us first, though, Renee, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I was trying to,
Because they're used to calling us. 'Cause,
Exactly.
See, election day, our phone starts ringing early, and you can handle so much of it by phone.
Yeah, it would be best it would be best if they just called us, and it's something you have to be involved in.
That's fine,
Then
yeah.
we'll call you.
Yeah, that's
Of course, they're
fine.
always free to call you anytime they want.
Of course,
That's your
yes.
Party primary.
of
But we're
course.
trying to make this less complicated, get a fast answer that's effective, and get up and
I
running
think
on the
that's,
election.
I think that's, really, I think that's the only way that we can solve the problems that have happened previously. And this has gone on for years, but last year was really a peak
Yes.
problem. So I think that's a good way to rectify that. And I thank y'all for that,
here's the
having
deal.
that done.
If we're realistic, number one, party rep, number two, when someone called and said, I can't get my machine open, there's no sense in they calling you Miss Renee or Mr. Howard. They should call us. I can talk them through it.
Right, you can. And I can too, but I can't do it for
Yeah.
5 people, you know. And can I ask just a couple more questions?
Sure.
Do I have time?
Sure.
Another thing, the night that things are brought into the courthouse, one thing that it just becomes a confused issue is we need to have a separate place, and we tried to do that last year, but it didn't really work out as well as I had hoped. We need a separate place for our affidavit bags when they come back, and the managers need to be very aware that they must have their affidavit bags out to hand to me, and not locked in the red box, not locked in the ballot box, or some of the other crazy places that they put them. That was one of the biggest issues that we had after the election, was affidavit bags were everywhere. And Anita did give me an area, but I think that the manager of the polls needs to have that bag out free, because many times we didn't know where they were.
Well, when we did the general in November, we learned from that episode,
Yeah.
and we had stations more or less set up.
So will that be
And so with the party
same?
election, I think you need to do the same thing, is
Okay.
set up stations where that, and we're still in discussion about how to have it come back in. Let's say it's bad weather and it's raining. There's no place for everybody to get in and get under the cover of the building unless they would enter by that east door.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be we need to see what the circuit clerk thinks about it. I mean, we're still in discussion about things like that, but it would allow people to get into the area
Yeah.
if the weather's bad.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it'll start bottlenecking, and they're all wanting to turn their stuff in at one time.
Right, the logistics of that will
In-
need to be.
In addition to the stations, which worked very well last time, another thing that we did for the general in November is we came up with a checklist for the end of the night.
yeah, we had
And
that.
that checklist very specifically states affidavit bag on your shoulder.
Yeah, we've all, yeah,
So
we've had that.
That and the
so
well, it's
as long
it's
as
been redesigned so it's a little more prominent that they have to have
as
that.
long as the managers, if that's hammered home to the managers, then that's
Petition is the soul of
that'll be a
learning.
moot point if as long as they. And one other thing that I wanted to know is, I'm assuming that Anita will be working with me that day as well, or that afternoon and evening.
I'm sure.
So, okay, so
Whatever we did last year.
okay, so payroll and everything will be,
She'll probably have it all set up like she did last year. when she
okay,
came in.
okay. And then, would you please, as soon as you get the number of splits, would you please let me know about that?
Uh-huh,
And the districts?
okay.
And then I'll talk to Anita later. Are we still doing the keys and everything like we have in the past? Okay,
To my knowledge, we are. She
Okay.
hasn't said anything about changing.
okay. Do y'all have any other, Thank y'all for your time and for your input and for working with us to make this a much smoother process than we've had. I really do appreciate it very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for being so
Thank you.
easy to work with. And then, and also for coming here, you know, we live in the post-COVID world where we do emails and Zoom, but this is better with y'all being here and we can hear things, you know, that really happen election day and night, you know, because it's hard for me. I know what the statutes are, but I don't know that maybe when they come in the courthouse, the affidavit bags are locked up. So that's an issue. So that informs us, and they're going to do great training, more specialized training, and we don't know what maybe they're not hearing as clearly, or we can say, okay, there's going to be splits, and we're going to color code it, and you really, really have to have your affidavit bag out. So y'all coming here and saying that is really helpful to us and
I
helping you.
think
So.
Mr. Howard would like to speak.
I would.
Why, sir?
Morning, Howard.
Good morning, everybody. Renee is a tough act to follow. I want to echo what Renee said in terms of thanking the Election Commission for all you all do. I know it's a lot. I want to be clear that I am still receiving feedback from the full Democratic Committee on the contract. Full 30-member committee, 5 people, I'm sorry, I majored in English, not math. 6 members per supervisor district from all 5 districts, so a total of 30 people on the committee. Still getting feedback concerning the contract as we customarily do. And I appreciate the time frame that you all have allowed for us to sign the contract. And I appreciate the comments that have been made and you all setting aside the time to discuss this. Because discussion can be very, very important, and dialogue. I appreciate what Chairman Truesdale said about the poll workers. I appreciate those comments, and I think that's an issue that we'll be able to iron out with a good hot iron and a little time, hopefully. But, you know, I think it all boils down to, without oversimplifying, when you talk about a primary election, you've got the training and the ballots and the poll workers. Mm-hmm. And those ballots have got to be approved, and that buck has got to stop somewhere. And the poll workers have got to want to show up and stay involved and work. And the buck's got to stop somewhere with that as well. But having said that, I'm excited and looking forward to another primary. I was impressed with the spirit of cooperation with the primary on last year. I think this is the first primary, if my memory serves, a first full primary of this magnitude since the onset of COVID in 2020. And I think there's a sense that some people have kind of got disenchanted with the process. And I think this is all something that we'll have to work through, and I feel comfortable that we will get it done with y'all's help. And I appreciate you all. And, you know, I just remember that on these primary election days, and I know August the 8th is a while from now, but come 6 o'clock, the phone starts ringing.
Yes.
And as chair, you know, typically get about 50 to 100 calls before noon. And, you know, lots of butterflies and lots of moving parts. And, you know, unless something drastic has changed since the last one, I imagine there'll be a good bit of that come August the 8th. But I'm excited, looking forward to it. Unless y'all have any questions for me, that's really all I wanted to say. But thanks again, and looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Relative to training, do you have, we are trying to set some dates here soon,
Yes, ma'am.
and we'd like to hold the training to 30 for each party, so that'd be a total of 60 people. And as much as we can, I would love, I know it doesn't work 100%, but I would love to invite precinct by precinct so that they can sit as a group, because so many times they'll show up for training and have been contacted, but they have no idea where they're going to work or what their role that day is. Mm-hmm. If we can be much more specific and intentional about each person that is hired, that helps tremendously, where that you can funnel the training right at what their job is.
I think that's something that we could strive for. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
When we're doing the hiring, we can do that.
Yeah.
You can do it to a certain extent, but you can't do it for people that work. You can't, y'all are forgetting about there are people that work every day.
Oh, no, I'm not, I'm talking about having night and day.
Yeah, but I'm saying, you're saying bring in the whole precinct.
Oh, I understand.
That's
It
gonna
won't
be
work,
tough for
I know it
Dan.
won't work 100%.
Well, let's give it a try and see how far we get with it.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea.
Well, I appreciate it. I think we're tweaking it each time, and I feel like that we're making improvements. And I think each time we work closer and closer together as Madison County, which we all are. And I want this to be a good nominating process for the parties. And so I look forward to us all working together and making this an effective, process.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Let me add something that may help both parties. Is what we did this past election is that we brought in all 43 managers first. I think that's one of the most important things that you can do is get all your managers together first, because that way you know who's going to be in charge of that precinct. And then you can go forward from there, because the manager needs to know every detail that's going on there. That was so helpful, especially in District 5 and 4. I know Mr. Dan and I had a beautiful time because we knew
Yes.
and who was going to be in charge that day. And they can regulate some of those other people in the precinct. And I think we ought to do that again, is bring the managers in first, because we have identified who they are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, good to see you again. Thanks. Good to meet you, Todd.
All right, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, now we have before us the minutes from our March 8th meeting,
Thank you.
and they have been circulated to everyone. Are there any corrections?
No corrections. I move that we approve as is.
I second.
All right, Laura and Dan, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, Ms. Teresa, I saw you brought the report for us, the VR 001.
Yes, and we had a voter count of 172 that moved within Madison County
Okay.
in that time frame.
I have a question, Teresa. When are we likely to send out the new voter registration cards?
We're looking at sometime in May,
Okay.
is what we're looking at. And we're working really hard too on trying to get people change, if they've moved within the county, get their address changes and get people registered on our end also, so there won't be so many affidavits.
That'll help.
But we are working really hard on our end, coming up with ways to try to get people registered to vote.
Is there still some way, I mean, I still think we have to need some publicity somehow, telling people this is coming. You know, I'm not sure what we need, but we need something.
I do know that, now I don't know how many other property management companies are in the metro area that manage neighborhoods in Madison County. Homeland Property Management does quite a few of them. In Gluckstadt, Canton, Madison, Flora, and Ridgeland. And they sent a push email to all residents recently at our request. And then we also have the press release released on Facebook. I know others of you were working with other cities, but in my district, I worked with both Gluckstadt and Madison. They are supposed to be posting that press release to their Facebook pages. Gluckstadt's going to put it as a push notification, I believe is what they said, on their app. So it'll go out to residents that way.
That's what I was kind of just trying to get out there. I knew that there were behind the scenes things being done, and I just was trying to.
Yeah, I visited Flora City Council meeting last night. They posted it, they mentioned it at the city council. I've been by, I dropped it off at Canton. They said they would put it on their site. I don't know whether they've done it or not.
Very good. Yeah, I just wanted it a broadcast that we are trying to have the publicity out there.
And I know you've done a good job of getting it on Facebook pages. It's on my page, and I'm sure it's.
I've actually seen quite a few of the candidates running for supervisor or election commission sharing it as part of their campaign, so that does also help the visibility. Has anyone spoken to the Board of Supervisors about putting it on their Facebook page?
That's an excellent idea.
I have not.
I think that would go a long way since it's the official county government page.
I think that's good. That's excellent.
Where are we also with the media on that, as far as newspapers, radio, television?
That's what she said.
Pardon?
I said, you remember we had to wait on Ms. Anita. She said she was
approved
going. No, not approve it. She said she was going to be working on what papers to put it in and that sort of thing. We supposed to came up with some wording to go by her.
I don't know anything about that.
Well,
I know
she
you-
approved the press release, and I've already dropped it off at the Madison County Journal, the Flora News, and various city halls, so.
So we need to get it to the
And
Canton News.
WYAB actually ran it on their morning program,
Okay.
so that'll
And there
help.
was also the thing, if you was going to draft a letter, you said you was going to give me one for the news, Canton News, for the radio station. I never got one. I never was told.
Okay, well, I will make sure, but I suggest you check your email. I think you'll find it there,
Which email?
the county email.
Okay, well, I'll see about getting it, checking with the supervisors about getting it on their page. Or I may ask Anita too, since she's more the direct contact with it, since it's her purview. All right, well, thank you, Teresa, appreciate it. We have now the request for purges by district. District 1,
15.
District 2,
16.
District 3, 19, District 4,
53.
District 5.
29.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Who seconded it? Leroy. I just want, before we call for the vote, I just wanted to ask. I usually go down through here and try to see, are there anybody on these lists that I know personally? Are y'all looking at the list in that fashion too?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, because sometimes you may have a knowledge of somebody. Like on my list, there was a lady that I discovered that she was deceased, but she had been in one of the nursing homes, and so it did not readily come up because there was no obituary.
Right.
And so, you know, if we're looking at these lists, I think it does help us develop other avenues of information.
Right.
And so I think it is important to review them. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, the same here with the inactives. District 1,
11,
District 2,
14.
District 3, 7, District 4,
17.
District 5.
Aye.
All right, all in, hear a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I heard Helen and I. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Okay, do we have any old business? Okay. Moving on to new business, we have requests from 2 of the candidates that wish to be their name withdrawn from the races. And the first is for the District 2 Constable race for Eugene Luckett to be removed. And the second is for James Childress for Tax Collector race. And do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, Spence, we're down to you.
Yes, I emailed y'all about the legislative sessions over, and I know Commissioner Lacey's all over that, in his role as former president of ECAM. But you saw that they passed a bill that creates another trigger to send out a mail piece, and it's if somebody doesn't vote in 2 consecutive presidential elections, a mail piece is generated to see if they're still a voter, and if they're not, that's a trigger for an activation. And then the other thing was they set up a mechanism for audits by the Secretary of State's office that can begin at randomly starting in 2026. So that's out there, and I think they're going to come up with rules on that. So just want to make you aware of that. And I think that's it. Any questions for me? I've got my invoice here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to pay Spence.
Who did the first?
Leroy.
Leroy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we're down now to the comments from the commissioners. District 1,
None.
District 2,
None.
District 3. I think it's fixing to get really busy, so let's all hold on. District 4,
None.
District 5.
Just one update. We got one bill from ECAM passed out of committee by the House as well as the Senate, and that is a pay raise for the poll workers. The governor has not signed it as of the other day, but we expect him to sign it, and it does take effect for this primary election once he signs it. And I had told the Madam Chairman, and so I'm going to, she suggested I get on the docket with Miss Anita in May so we can share it with the supervisors once the governor signs it, because they need to know, and they're gonna wanna see it. And what it does from July 1st, which is just around the corner, if all the Lord let us do that, it just says simply, the poll workers' pay is $75. It's up to the discretion of the supervisor to pay that $125, which is 50 more. So they worded it the same way, that they pay the $75 plus up to the $125, which we asked for $150, but through our lobbyists, he got a $200 for the poll workers.
Ooh.
Up to, let me put it that way. That's gonna be the discretion of our supervisor. I don't think we ought to have any problems here with the $50 more. But in January the 1st, it becomes mandate 2024 that it's going to be in place going forward for the poll workers. But it's up to the supervisors, but that's what I want to meet with them, see, will they get it in the primary. It's up to them. Once the governor, but also we asked for $15 for the returning and receiving manager. Between our lobbies and my past legislature and myself going down there, we got $25 per trip, picking up and bringing back per receiving and returning manager. So that change $25 each way. The $10 a mile. If they're using their own car, still is in protocol. So once the governor signs this, we're making hire different poll workers in the future.
Okay. Good news, good news.
All right, is there any other comment or business items? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we are adjourned.